have the men saying, "Si bone mang chai sai su, au si sue u ye la, au si bone mang chai sai, su ge la mang chai sai su, hai su ge la mang chai sai su, chai sai su ge la ba hai la mang chai sai," and that already sounds like a
Hip-hop's from the Bronx, that's where it's born from. But what is hip-hop's etymological origin? A word's etymology is how it was formed and when. And words are important, you should be informed of them. Here's an etymological, lexical chronicle, wrought to give thought in full to its topical vocable. Hip-hop, a genre of audible, optical thought and flow. Get taught, it's part of hip-hop to know, you know? And so here it is, the etymology of hip-hop. Well, hip comes first, but at first hip was hep, which meant up to date with it and in step, which in 1914 first appears with that name in the now rare Vocabulary of Criminal Slang, which claims that it came from a detective's last name who was, legend has it, always hep to the game, and so his name became a saying. He's hep, like he's heard of it, but some say that's wrong. Here are other alternatives. Some say that it comes from ancient plowmen and shepherds who when herding would shout the word hep to their herds. Hep hep, like tut tut, the kind of word you're using as you do in hip-hop when you're getting things moving. More likely sources, on the other hand, say that it's from the Wolof language of Senegal, Mauritania, and Gambia. Hepi, to open one's eyes. Well, that's eye-opening, and should come as no surprise, since West Africa was the home of the griot, or jelly, who practiced the ancient art of tale and poem-telling and preserving a cultural knowledge by rapping it. But some say even that etymology isn't accurate. But wherever it came from, what matters is where it went. It entered the vernacular of black Americans in the 30s and 40s in what they call the jive era, 50 years before jive and era. And its usage continued in the context of jazz, first among musicians and then among the fans. So a hep cat went from being a jazz man to later being a white intellectual jazz appreciator, and ultimately as hip made the transition from hip. If that was a transition that you weren't hip to yet, and you still said hep and not hip, well then you'd fall into the category of persons who were not hip at all. Hop, as in jump, or a one-footed leap, first appeared in the 1500s from a deep Proto-Germanic root word, in modern form hoofen, to engage in a bouncing, springing forth movement, combining then hip, which means conscious and aware, and hop, which means making a leap in the air. You have conscious movement, that's how KRS explains it. He's the teacher of hip-hop. I teach ancient languages. DJ is a disc jockey, it's an established acronym. Less obvious perhaps, the MCs that rap to them can stand for the master of ceremonies, or for mic checker or the less-known microphone controller. Graffiti's Latin via Greek and via Latin from Italian, and even ancient Romans wrote but not on iron stallions. Breaking is from Brecken, Old English to shatter. Old English 800 is a good way to get plastered. Rap is onomatopoetic, and so whoever did invent it when they thought it and said it made up a word that recreated some impression that came before, like the rapping Edgar heard it as chamber door. It came from ancient Danish, here becoming a term of art. It meant a light, quick blow. It also meant fart. And that's poetic justice, because it's obvious there are some rappers who claim to drop shit.
So, hip-hop started back in the 1970s in the Bronx, New York, when block parties were becoming more and more prevalent. Hip-hop as a culture is comprised of 4 different elements. You have the MC, or the rapper, you have the DJ, the breakdancers, and then you have the graffiti artists. And what would happen is DJs would extend the percussive break of a song or an instrumental, and then the breakdancers would, break dance to the break. The MC or the rapper would, kind of chant and hype up what's going on, hype the crowd up and everything, and then the graffiti artists would be doing their thing.
Hey, adios, goodbye amigos. Thank you, have a good one. See you tomorrow.
I'm a teacher.
Oh, Tuesday, see you tomorrow.
And I love my job. So I wouldn't trade. Now, we know the test comes up and we all gotta step our game up, and I think I know the deal. Let's make a mountain out of a molehill. Listen very carefully, I know the trick. Learn what's on the test, then go study it. But he knew that, and we knew that. That's what we got all our things we got. And don't try to run up on my ears and all that raspy stuff, try to rasp me and stuff. When the test comes up, it shouldn't be that tough. You should think about it. Take a second. Matter of fact, go ahead, take all day. When the test comes up, you should get an A.